I've been stuttering since I was 4 years old. And the first time that I truly realized that it was going to be a problem was when I was 12 years old. When I was 12 years old, we had to give presentations by groups of 2. And I really didn't want to do this presentation. So I told my classmates that if he does the presentation by himself, I would do all the homework and prepare all the presentation. And he would just have to read the presentation that I've prepared. He agreed and did the presentation by himself. But at the end of the presentation, the teacher was not happy that I didn't talk. So she asked me to read a paragraph of one of the texts we studied. I didn't manage to say more than 5 words. I stuttered, I blocked, I forced words, I started again, I forced more words. And after a few minutes, I just gave up. I met with speech therapists when I was 6 and when I was 10, but it wasn't really working for me. And when I was 10, my parents told me that this would be the last time that they pay for speech therapy sessions for me because it was too expensive and it was not working. So here I was, 12 years old, realizing that I was most likely going to stutter for the rest of my life. Not sure about which type of job I would be able to get, and not sure about what the future was going to look like. The first time I truly started working on my speech was when I was 21, when I moved to Singapore. I started reading resources online and read a few books, but most of what I read didn't help me. But I did find one thing that helped me, reading aloud. I chose a speech from Steve Jobs. And a few times a week, I would read it aloud, record myself, and listen to the recording. Because it was a speech full of passion, full of emotions, and full of full stops, I was actually practicing crutches number 8 and 11 before I learned the crutches. It helped me, but I was still stuttering on most sentences with strength and most words when I had to do presentations. A few years later, I went to see a speech therapist and read another book, but again, it didn't help me. In 2017, I discovered Lee's book, and because he shared his email address multiple times in his book, I sent him an email, and to my surprise, he replied, and we started Skyping. He taught me how to practice the crutches, gave me tips about autosuggestions, reading aloud, and self-hypnosis. After a few months of daily autosuggestion treatments, practicing the crutches and reading aloud, and around 8 Skype sessions with Lee, I decided to give a presentation at work, which I had never done before. I practiced it a lot. I used self-hypnosis, and in March 2018, I gave a presentation in front of a bit more than 30 people. It went really well. After the presentation, a few people that I have never met before went to discuss with me and told me that they truly enjoy my presentation. That's when I realized that I did it. I managed to beat stuttering, And I was so happy. And because I was so happy, I actually forgot about the program. I stopped doing the auto suggestions. I stopped practicing the coaches, and my speech became worse and worse. And after a year, it was pretty clear that I had a relapse. And it was a mistake. And if there is one thing that I want you to remember from this speech is this: don't do the same mistake that I did. Once you feel you reach a point where you stop stuttering, it's important that you continue your practice. You can probably spend less and less time on your speech, but it's important that you don't stop the way that I did. After my relapse, I sent an email to Lee. We did a few Skypes. I restarted doing the auto-suggestion treatments, reading aloud and practicing the coaches, and thankfully, my speech is back at where it was before. The biggest impact that this has is on my job. 5 years ago, on a typical day, I would just talk for a few minutes, just to say hi, how are you, and goodbye to my coworkers. Today, on a typical day, I have to spend hours on call, which basically means that I have to speak for more than 1 hour at work every day. This simply would not be possible if I had not met with Lee and if I had not read his book. It also has a big impact on my daily life. Before, when I had to meet with a dentist or a hairdresser, I would not choose the ones based on the recommendations of my friends or based on which one is the closest to where I live. I would choose them based on which one has a website where I can book an appointment without talking to anyone. Today, when I book an appointment for a dentist or for a hairdresser, I do like everyone else and I just make a call. To close this speech, I would like to thank Lee for spending a dozen of hours of his free time with me and help me beat stuttering, which truly changed my life. I would like to also thank the coaches and the organizers of this SAM meeting, because the SAM meetings have been a true source of inspiration and motivation. I'm also impressed by everyone here who is making their speech better every week. One thing I take away from this experience is mind training. I would love to be able one day to speak in front of large groups, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of people. And I believe that mind training can help me reach this goal. So thank you, Lee, and thank you, coaches.